The Asheville Hemp History Committee, in conjunction with the Hemp Industries Association and Vote Hemp, present the first annual Hemp History Week with events scheduled throughout the week of May 17th through 23rd. Hemp History Week seeks to capitalize on the momentum of consumer demand for hemp products, along with the demand by farmers for a profitable alternative rotation crop. Why hemp? Why now?
Well, it can be grown for food, it can be grown for fiber, it can be grown for fuel. And the fibrous uses can include building construction materials, can include clothing. The word canvas comes from cannabis.
The reason I decided to sell whole hemp seed was that after leaving Spain, I never saw it in this country. I felt that Americans weren't seeing the whole picture, that they weren't separating the two plants, and they weren't realizing that this was literally the greatest source of food on the planet.
I'm standing in front of the NauHaus Institute's prototype carbon neutral building. One of the main components of this building is hempcrete. I'm standing in front of a hempcrete wall. What hempcrete is industrial hemp. The core of the stalk of an industrial hemp plant is called shiv. It's a woody fiber, and it's mixed with a lime-based binder to make an insulation material that you can build walls or roofs with. The reason that we're using it, and I think it's interesting in terms of the whole hemp debate, I think this is the best wall system in the world. So I'm all about hemp. I think hemp's an important thing to push because it's food, fiber, building material. But really, I'm choosing this material because it's the best in terms of building science.
The character it adds to a beer would be primarily a nuttiness, a little bit of oiliness, but the nuttiness is what really comes through as far as the final product. The amino acids and the nutritious quality of the hemp seeds probably added to the nutrient that was available for the yeast, because the yeast do require some sort of yeast nutrient, which we generally add. So that was maybe a second added attraction.
One thing about hemp is it's an incredibly easy plant to grow. It doesn't require massive amounts of chemical fertilizers. It doesn't require weeding because it grows so fast it crowds out all the other invasive plants that might dominate a crop. It replenishes the soil where many of our other crops that we grow, corn, wheat, cotton, they deplete the soil and require soil amendments, and that wouldn't be necessary if hemp were rotated in or grown more exclusively.
Over 26,000 products that can be made from this miracle plant, and that's exactly what it is, a miracle plant. Our walls are locking up approximately 20 tons of carbon dioxide when we finish the house, and they will continue to breathe carbon dioxide as these walls carbonate and get harder. So we're already seeing statistics out of Europe where healthcare costs and sick leave and absenteeism is drastically reduced because of the increased indoor air quality.
One of the major differences between this and straw bale is when straw bale gets wet, it doesn't do as well as this. When this gets wet, it just dries itself out naturally because of its breathing capability. And so you never have mold, you never have dry rot, and you never have termites. And so this whole wall is going to breathe. So the cellulose properties of hemp are so much better than straw. Now there might be some plant out there that's even better, but we don't know about it.
So I look at those two things. One, we've got a valuable possible commodity that we're already using a lot of in this country, and we've got farms that are needing something to grow. And if we could make it legal in this state, we could reinvigorate farm life in this state. We could also grow new industries because it takes certain kinds of equipment to break up the hemp fiber into its component parts, to separate the seeds that can be used for feedstock or for the oil and so forth.
There has been a bill passed in the North Carolina legislature to study the issue. There's another bill pending that will allow for farmers in North Carolina to grow hemp, but the real change has to occur at the federal level. And there's been a bill introduced in the House of Representatives, the U.S. House of Representatives. I think it's House Resolution 1866, the Industrial Hemp Farming Act. And once that act takes effect, then farmers throughout the country will be able to grow hemp for industrial purposes.
Grown on a farm as a rotational crop, this will be one of the highest paid break crops for the American farmer today. And this is what we're hoping to do, is to not only just reduce our costs by getting it out of Canada right now, but hey, let's start growing it in America, where the farmers that have been dying on the vine, not being able to grow tobacco and some other products and being subsidized to grow corn that's killing us. Why don't we start growing industrial hemp? That's what it's all about. Put more jobs on the table.
Here we're looking at a plant we can grow without pesticides, herbicides, or fungicides. And that doesn't have to, those cancer-causing agents do not have to enter the environment, don't have to enter our bodies. And really, it can solve so many of our problems. We're trying to fight world hunger now, and we need to look at the most instrumental plant for doing that. In my opinion, it's industrial hemp.
Hempcrete is part of the natural building world. What are natural materials? They're basically materials that are usually local or site harvested or have low embodied energy like hempcrete does. They're also materials that work well with the site. And one thing that's great about hempcrete is that you can create a strong wall of different thicknesses based on what your insulation needs are. That's because you use forms around some kind of other structure like wood that will hold up the roof, and then you form around that and put the hempcrete in the cavity.
So here you can see how well in the winter conditions the hempcrete has held up. We've had freezing down to 8 degrees Fahrenheit here, back up to 32, back down. It's gotten to 40 degrees, and it's done extremely well in this weather. So once it warms up, we'll put the finishing render on it.
Until recently, and I say recently within the past 5 or so years, there hasn't really been an organized constituency lobbying for industrial hemp. And that's what I'm very excited about, especially here in Asheville and across the country. Hemp History Week is going to be celebrated, and there's going to be increased awareness around the country about this plant and about the ludicrous laws that prevent our farmers from growing this plant.
It's almost like maybe it was kind of meant to make a beer with the hemp seeds in it.
Healing starts with food. That's where most of the ailments in this country come from, and likewise where most of the ailments can be healed or prevented in the beginning. The pharmaceutical companies might not like that, for their pockets, but I like that because I like to see people happy, I like to see people healthy, and I like to see people treating their bodies and the planet like it's their temple, like they care about it.
I feel a genuine calling from the plant itself to release it from the shackles of the unreasonable laws that restrain its use.
It's time to return literally to our roots as a nation, back to the time around the revolution, around the forming of this country, when farmers grew hemp because it was a really important crop. And I'm signed on. Let's do it now.
So the hempcrete in this building, this one building alone, will sequester 20,000 pounds of carbon. That's a pretty big accomplishment. And it's all thanks to hempcrete.
Really, break the door open. I mean, we've been at the edge for so long, and I feel like this is a time where we can really just bust through to the other side and really expose this issue, get people educated, informed, yet let them try the seed because it's wonderful. It tastes great. You can do so many things with it.
Hemp is really a great plant. So, cheers.
The committee is actively seeking volunteers to help with these events. If you're interested in participating, please call or email Greg Flaval at 828-989-6043 or email greg at hemtecusa.com.